Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. September is my 51st month since I started my online VO workshop. And so in 1997, I started teaching at the college level, Columbia College here in Chicago. But a few years back, I started teaching from home. And I've learned that there's nothing like working from home. I love teaching. It's probably one of my favorite gigs. It's fun being a musician and playing in a band and performing live. It's wonderful and awesome doing VO work as well. Teaching. Sometimes I have a hard time deciding which one I like better, but I found at an early age teaching is one of my favorite gigs, and I'm honored to continue doing this. So for the last 4 years or so, each month we do something kind of cool, which is the VO Challenge. And the theme of this month's challenge is to read a sample of a children's book. And so this can be a story, whether it's something real or fictional. It can be something educational, because we all know that as kids we love to read something and learn something. No, on a serious note, it is cool to take a subject that it connects with a young person. I loved science as a kid, science nerd, and so I would find books on that in our school library. So basically any material that would be suitable to someone of the younger generation. Read a sample of a children's book. All it was required was their dry voice. And if you wanted to put music and or sound effects underneath it, you could. You're welcome to do that. I left the production value up to each individual. And as always, you never have to make a video. You can just submit your audio. But again, some voice talent are creating and producing and submitting video. So what is the VO Challenge? It's something that I do in my VO workshop, and it's something that I offer exclusively to voice talent as part of my VO workshop. And so you might ask, how do you become a member of this VO workshop? Once you take a single class with me, whether it's a one-on-one or a group class, I invite you to become a part of this private group of voice talent. And monthly, every month I send you one email. And in that email is the invitation to join us and participate in the given challenge of VO-ness of that particular month. So if you're interested, message me. All right, let's dig into the good stuff. In random order, here are the voice talent submissions for the VO Challenge of September 2024.
Where the Wild Things Are. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another, his mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room a forest grew, and grew, and grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day, and in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws, till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once, and they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper, and Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely, and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around from far away across the world he smelled good things to eat, so he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go, we'll eat you up, we love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat, and waved goodbye, and sailed back over a year, and in and out of weeks, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot.
I know it's all wrong. rights, we shouldn't even be here. But we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened?
"Perhaps you'd care for something to eat," said the mathematician, offering each of them a heaping bowlful. "Yes, sir," said Milo, who was beside himself with hunger. "Thank you," said Tock. The humbug made no reply, for he was already too busy eating, and in a moment the three of them had finished absolutely everything they'd been given. "Please have another portion," said the mathematician, filling their bowls once more, and as quickly as they'd finished the first one, the second one was empty too. "Don't stop now," he insisted, serving them again, and again, and again, and again, and again. "How very strange," thought Milo, as he finished his seventh helping. "Each one I eat makes me a little hungrier than the one before." "Do have some more," suggested the mathematician, and they continued to eat just as fast as he filled the plates. After Milo had eaten 9 portions, Tock 11, and the humbug, without once stopping to look up, 23, the mathematician blew his whistle for a second time, and immediately a pot was removed and the miners returned to work. "Ugh!" gasped the bug, suddenly realizing that he was 23 times hungrier than when he started. "I think I'm starving." "Me too," complained Milo, whose stomach felt as empty as he could ever remember. "And I ate so much." "Yes, it was delicious, wasn't it?" agreed the pleased dodecahedron, wiping the gravy from several of his mouths. "It's the specialty of the kingdom. Subtraction stew." "I have more of an appetite than when I began," said Tock, leaning weakly against one of the larger rocks. "Certainly," replied the mathematician. "What did you expect? The more you eat, the hungrier you get. Everyone knows that." "They do?" said Milo doubtfully. "Then how do you ever get enough?" "Enough?" he said impatiently. "Here in Digitopolis, we have our meals when we're full and eat until we're hungry. That way, when you don't have anything at all, you have more than enough. It's a very economical system. You must have been quite stuffed to have eaten so much." "It's completely logical," explained the dodecahedron. "The more you want, the less you get, and the less you get, the more you have. Simple arithmetic, that's all. Suppose you had something and added something to it. What would that make?" "More," said Milo quickly. "Quite correct," he nodded. "Now suppose you had something and added nothing to it. What would you have?" "The same," he answered again, without much conviction. "Splendid!" cried the dodecahedron. "And suppose you had something and added less than nothing to it. What would you have then?" "Famine!" roared the anguished humbug, who suddenly realized that that was exactly what he'd eaten 23 bowls of.
Mike Mulligan looked around at the 4 square walls and 4 square corners, and he said, "We've dug so fast and we've dug so well that we've quite forgotten to leave a way out." Nothing like this had ever happened to Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann before, and they didn't know what to do. Nothing like this had ever happened before in Popperville. Everybody started talking at once, and everybody had a different idea, and everybody thought that his idea was the best. They talked, and they talked, and they argued, and they fought till they were worn out. And still, no one knew how to get Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann out of the cellar they had dug. Then Henry B. Swap said, "The job isn't finished because Mary Ann isn't out of the cellar, so Mike Mulligan won't get paid." And he smiled again in a rather mean way. Now, the little boy who had been keeping very quiet had another good idea. He said, "Well, why couldn't we leave Mary Ann in the cellar and build the new town hall above her? Let her be the furnace for the new town hall, and let Mike Mulligan be the janitor. Then you wouldn't have to buy a new furnace, and we could pay Mike Mulligan for digging the cellar in just one day."
"Well, why not?"
said Henry B. Swap, and smiled in a way that was not quite so mean. "Why not?" said Mrs. McGillicuddy. "Why not there?" said the town constable.
"Why not?
"Why not? Why not? Why not?
Why not?"
said all the people. So they found a ladder and climbed down into the cellar to ask Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. "Well, why not?" said Mike Mulligan. So it was decided, and everybody was happy. They built the new town hall right over Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. It was finished before winter. Every day the little boy goes over to see Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, and Mrs. McGillicuddy takes him nice hot apple pies. As for Henry B. Swap, he spends most of his time in the cellar of the new town hall listening to the stories that Mike Mulligan has to tell and smiling in a way that isn't mean at all. Now, when you go to Popperville, be sure to go down in the cellar of the new town hall. There they'll be, Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, Mike in his rocking chair smoking his pipe, and Mary Ann beside him warming up the meetings of the new town hall.
Robins can be found almost anywhere. They make their homes in cities or in the mountains. They can be found in forests, meadows, and parks. You know robins love to eat. They like to catch worms, beetles, spiders, and caterpillars. Flies, moths, and mosquitoes are favorite foods, too. They also eat berries and other wild fruits that they can find. Before robins migrate, they eat a lot. The food gives them energy and keeps them strong and healthy during the long trip. In the spring, robins migrate north to have their babies. What are baby robins like? Baby robins are called chicks. When robin chicks hatch, they have no feathers and they can't see. They peep and squawk to let their parents know they're hungry. Both parents collect worms and insects for the babies. The chicks grow quickly. Soon they have soft, downy feathers. Within 2 weeks, the baby robins leave the nest. They still aren't ready to be on their own, so the father takes over the care of the chicks. Then the mother lays more eggs. Robins can often be found on grassy areas or lawns. If you see robins in your yard, you can put out a bird bath. Then watch as the robins splash and play in the water. If you don't have a yard, go to a green park, sit quietly, and watch as robins hunt for their food. Be careful not to scare them. The robins might think you are an enemy and fly away. Robins are common birds that have been around for a long time. There have even been stories and poems written about them. To make sure robins stay safe and healthy, we must keep the environment clean. By taking care of the places where robins eat and sleep, we can make sure that these beautiful birds will be around for many years to come.
"Grandpa, I can't sleep. There's a monster in my bedroom," Kirk whimpered. "A monster?" Grandpa exclaimed. "Oh, I hate monsters. We had some nasty ones in our house when your mother was little." "Well, there's a dragon under my bed," said Kirk. "He's mean and breathes fire." "I know just what to do, Kirk," said Grandpa. "Get a big pot lid and a wooden spoon from the kitchen. I'll get our tartans and a flashlight. This tartan is your armor, the pot lid is your shield, and the wooden spoon is your sword. Let's go get that dragon, young Kirk. You said he's up here in the castle tower?" He pulled Kirk's bedroom door open. "I don't see him. He must be hiding. Oh, there he is, behind the bed." "Oh, my, that is one fierce dragon you've got there." The dragon glared at the two of them with his beady eyes. He licked his lips and bared his teeth. He looked hungry. "He's going to eat us, Grandpa," screamed Kirk. "Look out, he's about to breathe fire." The dragon breathed a terrible fire upon them, but Kirk held up his shield and protected them. Kirk lunged forward with his sword, swinging at the dragon, but the dragon was not harmed. "Oh no, the sword went right through him." "Sound the alarm!" Kirk blew hard on his trumpet, and the noise blared throughout the castle. But something surprising happened when the trumpet sounded. The dragon shrank back in fear. "The dragon hates loud noises." "Grandpa, get your bagpipes. Together we can defeat him." Kirk was alone in the tower with the dragon, but he kept on blowing the horn, and the dragon cowered in the corner. Soon Grandpa returned with his pipes. The dragon covered his ears. "Look, Grandpa, it's working!" exclaimed Kirk as the dragon slithered toward the window and then slipped out past the trees, past the stop sign, and out of sight. "He's gone!" "For your bravery in battle, you will be knighted. I dub thee Sir Kirk, Knight of the Castle and Dragon Slayer." The door burst open. "It's the Queen." Kirk dropped to one knee. "Hello, my fair Queen. I have defeated the dragon and restored peace to the land." "I am glad to hear of your great victory," she said. "Now, into your bed, young knight. May you find dragon treasure in your dreams." Kirk smiled. He liked that. "Grandpa, can we go hunting for dragon treasure tomorrow?" "Of course. I was thinking the same thing."
Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. Pictures by Clement Hurd. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and pictures of the cow jumping over the moon, and there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs, and 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens, and a little toy house, and a young mouse, and a comb and a brush, and a bowl full of mush, and a quiet old lady who was whispering, "Hush." Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens. Good night, mittens. Good night, clocks, and good night, socks. Good night, little house. Good night, mouse. Good night, comb, and good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. Good night to the old lady whispering, "Hush." Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere.
The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another, his mother called him Wild Thing. And Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew and grew and grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max. And he sailed off through night and day, and in and out of weeks and almost over a year, to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once, and they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat, and he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye, and sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day, and into the night of his own room, where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot.
Trucks by Byron Barton. On the road, here come the trucks. They come through the tunnels. They go over the bridge. Here comes the bread truck with bread for the store. Here is a truck being loaded with garbage. P.U. Here comes a truck bringing the newspapers. Here is a bucket truck to help fix the lights. This is a tank truck delivering oil. Here comes a tow truck towing a car. Here is a moving truck bringing the furniture. This truck brings hot dogs and ice cream and soda. Here is a dump truck hauling dirt. This is a cement truck mixing cement. Here is a truck working all night long. Trucks on the road, they work hard.